Okay, we're gonna have to go this way. And good evening, everyone. I'm Vivian Chazen. I'm off screen, but that's okay. You're gonna be looking at these beautiful people today. Welcome to XR Safety Week. It's presented by XR Safety Initiative. All week long, we have welcomed esteemed experts in their field to discuss the ethics of building a safe metaverse for all. Gaming is notorious for having toxic tendencies, but really anything online where people can hide behind the screen can invite toxic behavior. Traditional esports is a huge market, but in VR, it's still growing. We have the opportunity to make it what we want it to be, a diverse, safe, and welcoming place for all. We also care about the integrity of gameplay and good spirit of competition. It's an ecosystem that includes everyone: players, developers, leagues, studios, entertainers, the entertained, and more. Tonight, V Respawn is hosting 2 panels of experts in VR esports. Our first panel will be hosted by Brett McCall from Better Than Unicorns. He is joined by a panelist of players who became coaches, producers, moderators, and creators of the community. Check out xrsafetyweek.org for more information on the panels. Thank you for joining us. I'm sending it over to Brett.
Thanks, Vivian. Hi, everybody out there in streaming land. Really excited to bring this panel to you tonight. We're going to cover several topics, talking about leagues associated with the game that we all love called Echo Arena. Our panelists represent a wide range of circles, from competitive to casual leagues. Some of them are even experimental, and some have been born out of the desire to play in peace. What we hope you get out of this conversation is a glimpse into some of the creative solutions and innovations that have been made to allow leagues to grow their respective communities while creating an inclusive and healthy culture. So I know for me, VR in general and this game, Echo Arena, has been perfectly timed during the pandemic because, y'all, it's been hard. And VR is a place where I've been able to develop new friendships that have grown stronger, and many of these folks are the reason why. So without further ado, I am excited to introduce you all. And Kuwip, I'd love to start with you, and I'd love to hear what your in-game name is, what you do professionally, and then what leagues you represent and what leagues you play in.
Hey everybody, I'm Cool Whip. That's my IGN. And I participate in VRML. Started in season 4. I also mod and participate in VRGL, which is Virtual Reality Girls League. It's an all-inclusive for non-binary and female associating gamers. And I'm also part of the PDR Scout program. I'm a host of Two Cool Queens, which is a podcast that's on Veritas Media. And my VRML team is Tyro NA, and they also are a 18 plus community of people for people who want to learn. There's people that offer coaching, and it's just a great community for people that are wanting to learn, more about the game.
And what you do professionally or academically?
Oh, I'm a traveling medical technologist. I work in hospital laboratories all over the United States. So COVID, VR was a nice safe harbor for me during COVID to, get some of the stress out.
Gotcha, great. Thanks for going first, Cool Whip.
Always.
We're going to go to Sammy Gabby next and go clockwise around this horn.
Hi, all. I'm Sammy Gabby. That's also my name in game. I personally don't play in competitive leagues, but I do play also in Tyro and in VRGL, which is the league that I created along Psychotic a while ago. Also Natasha Lore, Cool Whip is a mod in there, and we also have the game manager Glass. We created it because we needed girls to be among ourselves, and I just love it. I really live for it. And I am a nurse in real life. I used to be an ER nurse for a very long time, and right now I'm doing more like medical research. I got to work from home, and that's pretty much all I do.
Thanks, Sammy Gabby. Psychotic.
Hi, I'm Psychaotic. In the real world, I'm a graduate student studying robotic engineering. Online, though, I used to play in VR Master League at a pretty high level. That's the competitive league for Echo Arena. I then became a moderator and am now a league governor across all of the different leagues that VRML offers. That includes games such as Onward and Pavlov. I don't play competitively anymore because of that. I'm at such a high level we're not allowed to play, but I still continue to play casually in leagues like Beer League, which is an adult league for adults who play on Friday nights while having a couple cold ones with friends. I do play in PDR for NEPA, which is their pro development roster. That's where they pull players for their AAA and then pro teams. I used to play in the Seasonal Echo All-Star League, or SEAL for short. I co-founded VRGL with Sammy Gabby once upon a time, and then I now host a show in which we cast the games that they play on Sunday nights so people can support women in gaming. And I'm also a lobby moderator for Echo Community Lobbies, for the casual mature lobbies and the competitive lobbies.
Awesome. These resumes, y'all, I'm always blown away by how much we all do. Wiggles, let's hear from you next.
Yeah, hi, I'm Wiggles. I have been, my first foray into VR esports was with VR Master League, or VRML. I started in season 3 as a sort of like a captain on my team, would run drills, basically keep my team in line a little bit. I then actually found such passion in it that I, for a short period of time, for the remainder of the season, actually was a moderator as on VRML for a period of time. I since have joined the Tyro actual North America team. So in VRML, I am competing with Cool Whip on my team, and we're going to win it all this time. But I'm also a very avid participant in Beer League, which was mentioned before, which is a bunch of adults on a Friday throwing back a cool one. Very nice. And within that, I've even found a group of people that we call DERP, or Daytime Echo Arena for Professionals, where we will actually on Tuesdays get together, kind of ignore work for about an hour or so, and just play some Echo Arena and have some fun. So I love being part of the community, and yeah, that's me. Yeah. Professionally, because I know that was a question too, yes. I'm a quality engineer at a software startup in Boston.
Perfect. Thanks, Wiggles. All right, and bringing us home, Gilligan.
What's up? I'm Gilligan. That might as well be my real name and my in-game name. People sometimes wonder if that's actually my real name. We'll just say yes. I started competitive VR esports back when Esports League had the competitive league for Echo, and then I helped bring VR Master League into the Echo Arena scene, and was since then a captain and founder of Team Wireless Jacks. I became a moderator and then a governor, and now I'm a board member for VR Master League. I was integral in keeping Beer League running for about 2 years. I've since stepped way back from that a little bit, but I ran most of the Echo Beer League for almost 2 years. I've played in the Seasonal Echo All-Star League, and I founded Viridis Media, which is a streaming company. It's a Twitch channel that hosts different shows, including Two Cool Queens, which Cool Whip here is one of the hosts of. And we have our content caters to VR and gaming content. So, and in real life, I actually work for a VR game development company called Phaserlock Studios.
Awesome. Okay, first of all, thank you all for being here. Again, all that you do for the communities and the leagues that you run, it's amazing to see it all come together. Now, we're going to get into 2 main topics. We're going to talk a little bit about toxicity in leagues, and we're going to talk macro and look at esports in general first. And then we're going to dig in and start looking at some of the strategies, some of the stories that demonstrate inclusion, some of the innovations, some of the creative ways that we've been able to create inclusion among those communities and leagues. So first, I'd love to ask the panel again, what are some of the non-VR esports that you have played? It doesn't have to be competitive, just we can name off some of the ones that we've been a part of. I play League of Legends all the time.
I too also play League of Legends. I used to. I spent a lot of time playing it. Yep. That's a big one.
I never actually played esports before VR. VR made me into a gamer. I played a few games here and there, kind of obsessively, but I never really considered myself a gamer until I got into VR. Echo Arena did it for me.
Awesome.
Same here, all the same thing. Yeah.
10 years ago, I played competitive Halo 3, but this is my first experience in 10 years of video gaming at all. So,
Gotcha.
Echo
Yeah.
Arena is, yeah.
Where's that? It's
I
like-
played Halo and Rocket League, but everything else I do gaming wise for the most part is just kind of by myself games. So
Yeah.
I really esports, but still avid gamer.
Yeah, got it. Great. Perfect. So that sets us up for some of the things that we've noticed that we can identify as toxicity in the community. One of the things that I want to ask is, what's it like to open up really any of these games? What can a player expect to experience when they open up, Echo Arena or League of Legends or Rocket League? What's some of the behaviors that can represent toxicity?
Oh man. Well, VR, the way VR is, it's got an age limit on it. You should be 13 or older to play. I think a lot of parents don't read that warning or they ignore it. And so a lot of the things that you'll hear in VR and other internet spaces are children who are learning how to use curse words and slurs and testing the water with them on the internet with strangers. Unfortunately, that's one of the things that I think I experience the most. It's just screaming children using words that they barely know what they mean.
Yep. So lots of foul language and sometimes visual language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I also go.
No, go for it, Wiggles.
Going back to partially with Echo experience, but also some of the League of Legends experience, I've noticed that there is typically a trend with players that are more skilled as opposed to ones that are on the newer side, where simple mistakes that they themselves at some point made suddenly become a target for like, you're so bad at the game, you can't. That's me using words that are way nicer than would otherwise be used, but there can be some like coming in as someone that is new and trying to experience something for the first time can really be a not so great feeling because of how toxic the experienced players can be towards that newer audience.
Sammy, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. So
There you
on my side, what I can say is the particular thing with VR and many games in game really is that we have no body really. People can't tell your weight. They cannot tell the color of your skin. They cannot tell much about you really. But the minute that you speak, your voice will tell people that you are a female, or that you're an older female, or that maybe you identify as a female. And this is the one thing that people would jump at the first. If they're going to be toxic, that's the moment that they're going to target you. And so they hear a female voice and they're going right away to say stuff that are like female related, like harassment per se. What, you're a girl, you're a female gamer, go make me a sandwich. Wait, you sound like a mom, what are you doing here? Or stuff really like, why are you here? Like, you're a girl, you should be in the kitchen, you should be doing this, or you should be doing that. So your voice right away can be the first thing that it's going to kind of bring the harassment. And
I know
those are the mean
You've got
stuff.
that toned down quite a bit. I mean, I've heard some pretty harsh harassment toward females in the game.
It can expand to all the way to sexual harassment. It can be psychological harassment. It can be extremely abusive in many ways. And it's pretty sad because, females already have to deal with stuff like that in real life. And so you go into a game and you want to have fun and you want to enjoy yourself and, get the stress out of stuff. And then you have to confront this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really a cool stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And I want to echo that because a lot of people don't realize that as a female, I don't know exact percentages, but I'll say a large majority of females play muted because of that exact harassment. And that's one of the ways that they use to, combat harassment is to just play muted. I mean, just to avoid the possibility of having that happen to them.
Or they use the voice changer to disguise the voice.
Yeah, that's another thing that was going to be, covered, was that's one of the things that's been implemented for women to feel more safe, or people that want to identify as female, and so they're not harassed or felt less than or not applicable. So
yeah. While we're I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
While we're on that topic, I'll open the uncomfy can of worms. VR is awesome because body language is cool, and it comes through, especially in Echo Arena. You can move your hands, you can move your whole body around. It's also got a massive downside where gestures become a thing, and it's sexual harassment. It opens up a whole new world of sexual harassment in games. I'm not going to get into super explicit detail, but it's a huge problem.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, to elaborate a little bit on that, outside of the harassment side, like what we do in game, one of the core mechanics is to grab another person and ride with them, and then accelerate yourself by re-grabbing. Like, we're constantly grabbing the avatars of other players in game. Like, that's part of the design of the game and how the meta has evolved. So you can, one can imagine what that would look like if someone was being sexually harassed, the kind of grabbing and the kind of movement and the kind of, as you said, the uncomfortable can of worms. So I know that even bringing up some of this, like I've got a little bit of a turn in my stomach, and I feel really uncomfortable, and I appreciate, again, all of you, talking honestly about this, because, it's something that we have seen some creativity. So now we're going to shift towards that. And one important distinction I want to make is what the intent of the game community is, or what the intent of the studio is around building the game. And we already addressed one strategy that they've created to create at least a safety mechanism for those who do want to keep their microphones open, and if they want to modulate their voice. So that's an in-game strategy that's happened. But then there's league communities that have created other strategies, and that's really what I want us to focus on from here, are some of the strategies and stories of inclusion in the communities, the league communities that we've created. So I know that we actually just learned last night that there was an update, something strategically that Beer League did in their community with the roles. Gilligan, I wonder if you would introduce that.
Yeah, back in September, we implemented, the moderators, myself included, implemented a thing that you can do in our Discord server where you can react to a message with a specific emoji, and depending on what emoji you react with, it'll assign a role to you. So when you click on your name, the very first thing that someone would see when they click on your name is your gender pronouns that you prefer to be called by. And that's an optional thing you can do. You don't have to do it, but we have several different options for you to click on, including he, she, they, and zir. And that was a move that we made very consciously, because we found out that there was for some reason, there was like a month or two, it seemed like, where we were having more LGBTQ plus community members joining our server more than usual comparatively. And so we decided to make a move to make sure that they felt welcome in our community by doing that. And yeah, that happened in September, but Wiggles found out about it last night.
Yeah, so I've been in Beer League now for months, and on and off, work is sometimes busy, the whole thing. But when we were having a discussion last night, it was actually when I learned about the fact that Beer League had implemented this. And I think all of the wonderful humans on this call in this panel can attest to what my face did and how distracted from the call I was, because I immediately went and was like, wait, I can do this now? And I like jumped into Discord and I went and I clicked the emojis that fit me. And in the moment, Cheese Knuckles asked a really great question. It was like, wait, hold on, what just happened there? Mm-hmm. And right in that moment, like I was elated. I was so happy. I felt like I could suddenly share this part of me with everyone else, and I could be there and I could represent. But I also so it's also something that's kind of stuck with me since last night. And I realized that the thing that was the most impactful was the fact that an organization normalized me and my existence and how I have to go throughout my life to feel comfortable with who I am. And that normalization from an entity does so much for like my own psyche and my own self-awareness and my own comfort of being in that organization itself. Like it's not I don't have to like change my name to have certain pronouns in it, which was what I was doing before, just so that people could understand that even though my voice is a bit lower, that this is who I am. This is how I identify. This is myself. And I was able to go in and utilize this functionality in a way that it's designed to be a part of it, and it normalized it. And the more normal that I can, like, I've never wanted to have different pronouns than what I was born with, but like the comfort that I can, but I just want to be normal. I want it to be normal. I just want it to be normal. And this action of Beer League made it normal.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
I remember when you actually changed your in-game name as well.
Mm-hmm.
Wiggles, do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, so like part of it to the point earlier, like the voice is in VR, the voice is the only thing that you have. So as someone that has a lower voice, a more masculine voice, I don't typically get identified in the way that I want to. And my username used to be Captain Wigglepants. And there's two sides of this. One of them is like in general to me, and this is again my perception of my own in-game name. It felt a little bit more masculine and a little bit more like pointing towards being a more masculine individual. But I also, going back to the fact that there's a whole bunch of kids, like just having the word pants in my username brought on a lot of like jokes and different phrases that I just didn't want to be hearing, and I didn't want to be a part of the time that I was spending to decompress and relax and spend time with friends. And so like there is a lot about the community that made me kind of change how I was showcasing myself to the like in game to more accurately make represent me, but also feel more comfortable just doing the thing that I was enjoying doing.
Great, thank you. Sammy, Gabby, I'd love to hear from you about VR Girls League, the VRGL, and what some of the strategies have been. I mean, obviously, you know, naming it Girls League is a start, but have there been any other implementations that you all have used to include, to be inviting?
Absolutely. So we've always been inclusive when it comes to being a female or identifying as a female, because you can be you know, a male that starting to identify as a female, and we have a lot of youngsters that are starting their own process. And so by helping them feel comfortable and accepted, it's building their own personality. And really, I realized that only later on, that little girls, you know, 13 and older that are in game are kind of like in lots of need of, they need a, you know, how can I say, they need examples. They need older women in game to show them what's acceptable, what is not acceptable. We're welcoming in any way. Like really, we have several channels for advice. We have beautiful things to share with each other. We play once every week. So the game is really to socialize and meet other girls. And you know, you're not alone in the game, that there's other girls in there that can support you. We feel like a family within another family. And there's also the weekly game that is casted in the now Viridis Media and Psychotic as a host, and that we were doing before with Luke and Natasha Lore, and then it was Cool Whip and myself. This has allowed to get an audience and to show the other boys, to show the whole world really that women can really play, that we have not good personalities, that we're fun to be around, that we can also be amazing players. We can actually be welcoming, not because we're just girls. It's not that we are in, we're not rivals. We're not competing really. It's just that we had to do this so that we can feel that we have our own place and that we feel safe where we are. And this whole environment that we created and the weekly game, the exposure to the world has actually changed things. And we have testimonies of girls like, let's say Glass, you know, that she's always mentioned that once she joined VRGL, she was not using the voice changer anymore, that when she would be in pubs, guys would treat her differently because they would recognize her name and they had seen how good she was at the game. And so she gained this respect among the community. And so there's many cases like that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. That increasing visibility is such an important part. I know that, you know, outside of esports, I mean, just looking at international football, what we call soccer in America, you know, that's the biggest argument that the female division has made, is that we don't get the same visibility that the men do, so we can't compare the market because we are interesting to watch. We are, as, you know, like, give us a shot. And basically Premier League is the first league in the world in international football to pay women as much as they're paying the male players. And all of our women from the US went to play Premier League because that, you know, because they could. So that visibility, I think, is really, really incredibly important, what you're saying, Sammy, Gabby.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Speaking of, if I may plug that real quick, the VR Girls League plays a weekly game every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern. It's hosted by Psychotic, and you can catch it on Twitch at Viridis_media. We do want that to be shown because it is a way to support women in gaming. And Psychotic doesn't just cast the games, but they also, you know, they sometimes showcase women in history or current events, and it's a celebration of women in gaming. So if you want to see it, that's where you can find it.
Beautiful. And I wonder, Psychotic, I'm actually curious to ask you about VRGL, and specifically about how, so it's called VR Girls League, but the gender specific, like, tell me about the gender and how you are handling, you know, who plays and who can't play.
We are super inclusive with, you know, yes, it says Girls League, but as moderators, you know, as we've grown to levels of popularity we didn't think we'd reach, we have kind of expanded that umbrella to, you know, girls, femme identifying in general, non-binary, you know, anything that, like, toward the femme end of the spectrum. But there's no, like, hard limit for it because we want to be inclusive, and also because we realize those marginalized groups, those intersectional groups, don't have a place of their own, and so we wanted to open up VRGL to them as well. So, you know, if there's a, like, can this player really play? Does it really fit the umbrella? We will almost always go with yes. That said, we have a pretty, you know, and that has held up really well. We have a zero tolerance troll policy. We've got a vouch system in the server where you can't get in until a certain member, you know, a current member says, yes, this person, you know, belongs in here, is okay to be in here. Then we'll be like, cool, we'll take your word for it. And that's worked pretty well so far. We haven't had any problems or complaints about people joining. Yeah.
Got it. Great. Thanks. Whip, anything you want to add to that conversation? We're going to shift a little bit toward the more competitive leagues.
I just wanted to echo, she was talking about the different channels that we have to help support people. We also have a suggestions panel, or a suggestions channel, where people of the community can suggest something. Like within the past couple of weeks, we've had somebody suggest, hey, well, maybe once a month you should have a a VRGL scheduled for during the daytime. That way, we could include our EU players, our EU women that want to compete and play. So that was just something, I thought of, that we're trying to be as inclusive as we can, across the world, not
Even
just,
across the pond, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's an important piece. I kind of started derp that Wiggles was talking about earlier, and we only do derp at one time during the year. I mean, during the week. It's weekly. We do it all year long. And right now it's just during lunchtime East Coast, so it does kind of exclude participants. So it's something that we would like to, do that as well, as I think as it grows, as we figure out, I don't know, what we want to be when we grow up as derp. Okay, cool. So I am interested, Psychotic, you mentioned about the vouchering system, and I know that some leagues have started to require some kind of a vouchering system, and some leagues are even requiring recording in-game in order to participate. And I know that I don't think that's true about any of the Echo leagues, but I want to throw some questions at Gilligan and Psychotic about what VRML's decision has been. So just to be clear, VRML is still an amateur league. There's none of the players are being paid, as far as I know. None of them are professional playing for VRML teams. But it is still, the competitive, the place you go to play competitively. So tell us a little bit about the choice around vouchering and how that's done, both in Beer League and in VRML, and in Girls League as well. Any of that, we'd love to hear about. Either of you can go.
Sai, you want to start?
Sure, I'll do the vouch stuff and you can do the recording stuff.
Sure.
Cool, sounds like a plan. So as for the vouch system, yeah, that's becoming more common in the leagues that are more restricted. By leagues, we're not talking about weekly matches kind of thing. We're talking about just a place where people can play, semi-regularly in a community they identify with. We do that in Beer League because we want to keep that to adults of legal drinking age only. We do that in VRGL because we want to keep that as women and women identifying. I think Tyro has a vouch system. Cool Whip. Yes. Okay.
I was going to clarify on that earlier. So it's an 18+ community. But if you're under the age of 21, you have to be vouched by 2 separate people within the server, and then if you're above 21, you're automatically, grandfathered in. So.
Yep. And while I know the whole big topic of the night is inclusivity, and I know that might seem to be anti-inclusive. In reality, I'd argue that it is more inclusive because a lot of these marginalized groups, in the greater esport or greater Echo and gaming communities, wouldn't really have a place without it, and they need one because of the issues we mentioned at the beginning of this panel. I don't know about my fellow panelists, but there were several times I would have dropped the game if I didn't have some of these communities that I could run to and hide in. And I think that it's, by having these non-inclusive spaces, it has made the game more inclusive because now these people have a place. So the vouching system is super important for that.
Yeah, I think that you're making a distinction between creating a container for people who are self-selecting to participate in the game that they love versus excluding players from a community because of some other piece of identity.
Yeah.
Wiggles, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I pretty much now only play with Tyro, which is adults, Beer League, which is adults, Derp, which is adults. I have found that is how I enjoy the game the most. So I definitely these communities are really everything to me in the way that I experience this game.
Gotcha, great. And Gilligan, tell us about some of the choices that some leagues have made to record, to require people to record, why they would do that, and tell us about VRML's decision around that.
Yeah, so this mostly was an issue that started in Onward. There's been debate about it in several other games, including Pavlov and Echo Arena. a lot of the players who are very much against cheating or underage players or whatever rule breaking there may be, we're arguing that we should require players to record themselves in real life playing the game so we can monitor things like play space abuse or underage players or hacking or whatever. It's been a debate back and forth for a long time, but as a member of VR Master League that was part of the decision making for this, we've always decided VR Master League VRML wants to be as inclusive as possible. So that doesn't just include, gender or age or anything like that. It also includes socioeconomic. And to require players to record themselves in real life playing games requires more equipment. To play the game, all you need is a virtual reality headset. If you're playing the game, you already have that. We don't require, you can't play the game without it. So it's not something we require you to have. You just have to have it in order to play the game. If we wanted to record or require you to record yourself, that would require a lot of people to go out and then buy extra equipment that's not necessary to play the game itself, but then would be required to play in the competitive league. And so we made a conscious decision to not require live recording of players because we want to keep the league as inclusive as possible. People who can afford a headset but maybe can't go afford a camera on top of that, we want to welcome them into the game as well. So that was a very conscious decision that we made to be as inclusive as possible.
And how has that impacted the community? Have you seen ripple effects?
We've had another league pop up in Onward that does require cameras to be on. I don't know exactly how that's going for them, but for VRML, I mean, we are open and we've seen nothing but growth in, especially Echo Arena. Our Discord server has almost 9,000 members now, and it's only been around for a little bit over a year. We saw exponential growth from season 2 to 3 to 4, and it just keeps getting bigger. The Quest helped a lot because that's a cheaper headset, or the Quest 2 rather. The Quest not requiring a VR capable computer. That's a headset you can buy that doesn't require that extra equipment, so more people can get in. And it's along the same lines that we don't require cameras because that's extra equipment that you don't need to just play the game. And so we have seen nothing but growth on our end. If we did decide to require extra equipment, I can only imagine that the growth would probably still continue, but it would at least stagnate, if not, decline.
Gotcha. And just to be clear, VRML is VR Masters League is a league governing body that covers multiple games.
Yes, yeah, we run the Premier Competitive League for Onward, which is a Downpour interactive game. We run the Premier Competitive League for Echo Arena, which is Ready at Dawn Studios. Both of those are now owned by, Oculus, Meta, whatever the name is now. And we're looking into other games, as well as we run the competitive league for Snapshot VR and Pavlov. So yeah, we're looking at more games constantly. We're in talks with other communities to get other leagues going. So we are on the way to include more games, but also just all you need is, if you have the headset already, you're welcome to come play in our league.
Gotcha, great. So I know that we've already covered a bunch of the different leagues and a bunch of the different ways that they have implemented different strategies among them. I'm curious about how they support each other. How do they knit together?
VR Master League is, we don't just run the leagues for other games. We also are a production company. There are a lot of one-off tournaments, or for example, one of our former moderators, Daniel McFabulous, runs the Echo Arena Champions Series. He hosts that on our channel, so we allow him to use our assets on our channels to help promote that league. We run VR Master League, covers a lot of different things, especially in the off season. That is not just VR Master League. We are supportive of our communities, and it's not just on Twitch and YouTube either. Our social media promotes a lot of things that is not strictly VR Master League,
including this panel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Myself and Psychotic are both high-ranking members in the organization. Wiggles is a former moderator, and as far as I understand, in the next hour, you're going to have several members from VR Master League and other competitive leagues as well.
Great. I am curious also about the ticketing system and some of the decisions that have been made around territory, right? So we talked a little bit about the distinction between the game community and the league community.
Mm-hmm.
Psychotic, you told us a statistic last night about how many tickets you reviewed this season. I wonder if you'll give us some stats.
These are support tickets.
We had probably roughly, and I was involved in 1,400 of them.
You cut out just a little bit for me. Will you say that number again?
1,750 total over the course of the season, and I was involved in 1,400 of them. So I am very aware of what goes on in and around the league.
And how many of those are behavioral or rule-based tickets, would you say?
I would say most of them.
The majority of them.
Rule-based behavior. We get some tickets that probably shouldn't be going to us, reported to the organizations that it actually happened in. But 90% I'd say.
Yeah, so that's one of the important things is that the ticketing system is there, but then you said not all of them should be going to you. Say a little bit more about what that means.
And I'm sure Gil will get into this in a second with our recent decision to but basically, if you've DM'd, if you get a DM from somebody and they called you a poo-poo head, that's not VRML's, area. You need to report that to Discord. But yeah.
Basically, prior to very recently, we expanded, VRML expanded the jurisdiction, shall we call it, of areas that we would act on. If you had a complaint about a player's behavior or breaking the rules or something, we would try to kind of cover everything. And what we realized pretty quickly was that is overwhelming. It is, so we have recently, because we are a volunteer force of moderators and governors and such, nobody at VRML makes very much money from anything that is VRML. The casters make some money based on Twitch donations, but moderators, governors, board members, we don't make any money. So it's a volunteer force. And what we quickly realized was trying to police the entire internet is not feasible by our small volunteer group. Burnout is very real. And so what we've recently made the decision to really cut back on what we will act on as a disciplinary rule enforcing organization. So now we've recently made the decision to only cover things that happen in space that we control. So any of our Discord servers, any matches that we cater, our website, our Twitch channels, things that VRML owns, that is the area where we will act on things that, if you have a discipline issue, bring it up with us and we will act on it. That being said, we're not being callous about it. We're encouraging people to report issues to the proper authorities. Like if something happens in Echo Arena outside of a VRML match, report it to the developers, report it to Ready at Dawn, report it to Oculus. Don't report it to us if it's not something that we can control. It's not our area. There are powers in place, there are rules in place, there are social tools in place for you to handle these things. It's not always going to be VRML's issue to cover. We overreached, and we quickly learned that we needed to bring it back so that we could actually be effective. That being said, if you are harassed by a VRML player in such a way that their behavior would warrant a ban, we will still act on that, because we are not going to turn a blind eye to everything, but we can't act on every little thing. Like Psychotic said, if someone calls you a poo-poo head in your direct messages in Discord, block them. You don't have to listen to that. Block them. And if you need to, report it to the Discord, the people that run Discord. Don't report it to us. Your direct messages are not our territory to police. It's a tough decision, but it's one that we have to make. And so we want to, again, encourage people to report things to the proper authorities. If it's not VRML specific, it's not something that we can really control. Therefore, it's kind of out of our control.
And again, just to put that in context, the VRML Discord server is over 9,000 people. So we're talking about a lot of participants where, Derp, for example, probably has 20 members that play on a regular basis. So we don't have any kind of ticketing system. We just talk to each other.
Right.
Because that's how we manage. And so the manpower issue that you're talking about is related to the growth and the size of the organization, not just as a whole.
Yeah,
So,
to put that in a bit of perspective as well, it's not just Echo Arena, but across Snapshot, Pavlov, Contractors, Onward, and Echo Arena, which are all games that VRML runs leagues for. There's well over 10,000 members, and our entire, you said almost 9,000 members in the Echo Arena VRML Discord, and our entire moderation team for season 4 was about 15 people that are all volunteer and players. So it's really not something that we can keep up with on a regular basis.
Yeah, got it.
We're doing what we can, and we encourage you to
thank you.
report these things. Please report inappropriate behavior. Just, you got to figure out where the appropriate place to report it is.
Thanks for sharing all that. I think that those are important innovations and difficult decisions to make as you grow, but important as you grow, so that you set that foundation for sustainable growth. So let's see, Cool Whip, Sammy, Gabby, Wiggles, I'd love to hear a little bit about some of the experiences that you've had in really any of these leagues that you would say represent really that in kind of this, these leagues coming together. So I wonder, let's see, Cool Whip, would you tell us about which league you first played in, and then how that evolved into the next leagues?
So the very first league I ever participated in was VRGL, VR Girls League. And I can remember starting there as bronze. And I remember when I first joined, I was super nervous. I can remember my first game. I barely said anything, but everybody there was so welcoming. And, it was a great foundation to start, because when I was a female, I was already, since I'd had experience in gaming, I wasn't as jaded walking in. I knew that there was going to be haters. I knew that there was going to be people that bullied and being toxic and stuff like that. But I felt like VRGL would be a safe space, because one, I was already invited by another female to come and join their community. And so I was like, oh, well, that was my first experience of community in VR, period. And then from there, I went to VRML, where I was on a team with all dudes until the very last month of the season. We picked up another striker who was a female, and it's just something that as you continue, you have people to look up to. Like in NEPA, in the pro sports, you got Saloni, you've got Rosie Hope, you've got Paranym, you have these women that are setting the foundation for all of us, saying, hey, it is possible to achieve the things that these dudes are doing. It's just because you're a female, you can still have aspirations and dreams of getting there. You just gotta work, to put in the work. You get in what you get out what you put in. So if you're in there every day, practicing, doing what you need to do to move your way up, it should show in your expertise and how you show it in the game. Like we said earlier, if you played muted, they'd never know that I was a female. They would just base it off of my skill. If I never said a word, there's a lot of people in the community who do still think that I'm a male, just because they don't know that I'm a female. Or maybe I hadn't spoken to them personally. But that just happened a couple weeks ago, where somebody was like, oh, I didn't know Cool It was a female, regardless of me having a podcast or having a presence in the game, period. So that's, all these people I'm associated with, and it's been nothing but positive for me. So
yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Wiggles, what about you?
Yeah. So I started off in VRML. There's a good way of searching for teams, and honestly, the very first team that I was a part of, I was really excited because they were higher up in the rankings, but they're some of the most toxic individuals that I have ever met. I stayed on that team for a lot longer than I meant to, but one benefit is that it did get me to meet a lot of amazing people that we ended up scrimming against, which then led me towards Beer League. and getting to meet adults that are mature and like actually care about other people. And so it was very easy leaving the initial people that I met behind, holding on to the one or two that were good. But suddenly I had beer league, and beer league led to derp. And even like last night, after I set my pronouns in beer league, Psychotic sent me an invite to the VRGL server for girls league, and like all it's done, it may not have started great, but the more connections that I've made, the better of an experience that I have found, and the more that I like these as I said earlier, I only now typically play with adults, and these communities have really like I've found a home here in VR with these people, and it's amazing.
That's sweet. Sammy, Gabby, tell us your league story.
I actually started really with Tyro before I even started the VRGL league.
And again, Tyro is the mature
mature league. That was what kept me in game, because I was not a high level player. I've always played social, really, too. As I mentioned, I'm a nurse, so I had to let it all out. And in COVID times, VR was my savior. And I started playing with them, other adults, and having to meet people from all over the world. I mean, I've met people from places I didn't even know existed. And I've come to discover so many things, and that's the main place. That was my house. It was my home. It was Tyro. And after that, when I gained confidence, I started playing with Beer League. I knew Beer League was a higher level, but quite honestly, even though my friend Gil here always encouraged me to go ahead and like, don't be shy, do whatever you want to do. Like, he really gave me confidence to just, don't care, just go ahead. And so I started playing a Beer League, and I discovered that even higher level players can be fun. It's just that you have to learn how to manage the gaming, the way you deal with them, and also a couple of drinks help let it loose, make it easier. And it was another experience. And of course, I've always played with VRGL since the beginning, but I've done more of management. I've done a lot of organizational work in there, so I haven't played as much as I wish I could play them. But yeah, that's pretty much the 3 places I've been.
Got it. Great. Yeah, and I'll jump in and share that before we wrap up here, which is I started playing Echo Arena back in 2017. I had actually just launched my company, Better Than Unicorns, and we had CV1, and then this free game came out that was Zero Gravity Ultimate Frisbee. I'm a former Ultimate Frisbee player, so it was like a heaven send to get this game. And then I took I broke my CV1, and then came back to the game when the Quest came available to us, and Echo was on it. And then played VRML, and through a tryout, I actually met a player that said, tell me a little about who you are, not just your play. And when I told him that I was 46 years old and I own a VR company and all this stuff, he says, oh, well, have you played in Beer League? You got to come play Beer League, and invited me to Beer League. And that introduced to me to this whole community of people that are I mean, here we are now. Like I'm so happy to be in this with you all. And since then I've created, some casual daytime Echo as well. So it's been really fun to sort of cycle around different leagues and get to meet different people along the way. So we're going to close up here, and I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to go around and tell us anything that you'd like to encourage the audience to go see or go check out. Feel free to name shows or leagues or streams. Go ahead, Gilligan. Let's start with you.
Before I plug anything, I real quick want to say something we haven't touched on yet. I just realized this was that these communities are so great, and it's proven in the fact that how popular local area network events are. LAN events are extremely popular and extremely in high demand by our players. It's events where all these players that you know each other from the internet get together in real life at a venue and play the game together and go out to a bar and eat lunch together, and it's a great experience. It's a testament to how great these communities can be when everyone is constantly asking, when is the next LAN? And there's one in 2022, there's a different LAN happening every month for the first like 5 months of the year. It's crazy. So personally, I'm part of VRML. If you play Echo Arena, Onward, Pavlov, Contractors, Snapshot, sign up. It's awesome. It's free. It's open to everyone. And if you, be nice. If you're mean, we're gonna kick you out. But it's all inclusive. Come play with us. It's awesome. On top of that, I'm a big part of Beer League. If you're of legal drinking age in your current country of residence, hit us up. Anyone on this panel, we're all in Beer League. It's a great community for people who like to enjoy a little alcohol while they play Echo Arena on Friday nights. And then on top of that, Virtus Media on Twitch, Virtus_media. Come check us out. We got 2CQ, the Two Cool Queens, hosted by Cool Whip. I don't know if I'm pointing at her or not, but she's somewhere over here. She's one of the hosts. That's Mondays at 9:30. The VR Girls League is also streamed on this channel, the Virtus Media channel. You can check that out Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And the Beer League podcast, which is hosted by myself, where I cover the Beer League matches with a host and we talk about whatever. It's a good time. Come hang out with us Fridays at 10 p.m. Eastern. That's it's good stuff.
Dave. All right, great. Wiggles.
Tyro, we're going to be playing this next season in VRML, so come check out our matches. Highly recommend everything that Gil just talked about. I'm going to leave on more of just like a comment than anything else. All of these communities came into existence because people wanted a space to kind of be with the people that they align with, that they feel comfortable around. And I hope that everyone that is observing this now is able to kind of realize how powerful that is to change the experience that someone has in an environment like this. But it's also an interesting thing where we don't, it's not just an immediate thing where we find the existence of these leagues. Until you know about it, it's hard to know that there is a space that is safe for you, that makes sense for you, that you can feel at home with. Don't be afraid to make something new. Girls League came around because it needed to exist, and someone was brave enough and determined enough to make that space exist. So I just want to say, if you see a space or you see a lack of space, make something happen and help the people that are similar to you, or that maybe don't have the space they're looking for. Make it and bring the people in.
Excellent. Thanks, Wiggles. Is that chaotic?
I'd like to report Gilligan for stealing all my plugs. I had a whole list and he went through all of them. So instead, I'm going to go ahead and say, I really hope, the one thing coming out of this panel is just how passionate we are about this. This means a lot to us and the entire community. As Gil was saying, discussions like this are important. So I hope, whoever watches takes something away from it, make the community a little better because of it. And VRGL, as it's been mentioned, I can't put my thing anywhere, but we're always looking for new members. So if you or someone is female identifying, hit us up. Discord in the YouTube chat. But yeah.
Thanks, chaotic. Sammy Gabby.
So to all of the females out there, all the people that identify as a female, whether you're 13 or 100 years old, whether you are new, you don't know how to play, whether you're bored and want to try something new, a new experience, you want to meet people, you want to exercise, do your workout in a different way, you want to participate in events, you want to feel different, you are invited to join VRGL, the Echo Arena Girls League. We also have Discord. We have an Instagram, Echo Arena Girls League VRGL. And you can always also DM any of us, Psychotic, Cool Whip, Glass, or myself. And we'll be able to give you more info if you need any. And just come on down, join us.
Awesome. Thanks, Sammy Gabby. Cool Whip.
Yo. So first of all, I wanted to point out that this panel is majority of women. So let's go. Second of all, I wanted to plug, Gil was talking about lands. Lands are super important to make that human connection and the reaction, real. So first I was going to plug the first land of next year is the Redshift land. It's January 14th through 16th. It's in Richmond, Virginia. The second one is going to be in February. It's the 18th through the 20th. It's the Tyro land. It's going to be in Atlanta, Georgia. And the third one is in March. It's March 18th through the 20th. That's the NEPA land, and it's going to be in St. Louis, Missouri. So if you need any of that information, you can DM me through Discord. It's cool-whip, #9999, and that'll get you straight there. But also want to plug Beardus Media. They're aiming to create entertaining shows and events that, emphasize on virtual reality and gaming. And so, hop on over there. Usually at least 5 days a week, we have something streaming live on the Beardus Media Twitch, and you can tune in and, vibe with us. We'd love to have you.
I just want to add something, if I may say. All of this would not be possible for female players or anything if it wasn't because of guys like you guys. Sheep Knuckles, thank you for the opportunity for today. I want to thank also Gil for all of the opportunities and help he's given to the female community. Also Newton Dad, who's always been behind the whole technology and everything. I have to thank Luke for being an amazing caster and always helping the girls. I have only boys, and I can say it's not against boys or anything. I actually have no idea how all of this would have been possible without the men that support the community. So thank you all.
Amen.
Great. Well, I want to thank you all, but before I go, Gilligan, you pinged me. What's up?
Yeah, I just want to say real quick, what you're seeing here on this panel and everything that we've talked about, it's all about inclusion and stuff, but I want to really emphasize the sense of community that we all feel. Everything that we've done, VRML, VR Girls League, Beardus Media, all of it, Tyro, whatever else that we've done, reach out to your community members and collaborate with them, because you can make amazing things happening. And look at what we're doing right now. This is amazing stuff, and it's all because someone reached out to someone else and said, hey, I got an idea. You want to do it with me? And they said, yes. Put the work in, collaborate with your community members.
Yeah, and I'll reflect just that I've witnessed Gilligan in several communities, and I think that that you represent what you just said very well. And I think you've really created a welcoming, inclusive environment with all that you've done. So
thank you.
So thanks for that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all to all the panels. Thank you to VR Respawn. Thanks to the Safety Initiative. Thanks to Vivian. There's so many people behind the scenes making this happen, and I'm just really happy that everybody was able to be on this panel and participate tonight. So to the audience out there, keep smiling wherever you go. Don't go too fast. Be safe. And Vivian, it's back to you.
Cheers.
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 My mic is out, so sorry. I'm back to you guys for a second.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties here, so all right, we have the next panel coming up, so I want to thank everyone here. And I got an invite to the VRGL Girls League too, and they're very welcoming, so check them out as well. Thank you to all the panelists for coming out. Thank you everyone for watching the stream, but hang on tight. We have the next panel coming in, and this is the leagues. We're going to put them on the spot and ask them what they're up to. So again, thanks to the panelists, and we'll be right back. are back with absolutely no technical difficulties at all. So totally meant to do everything that you just saw. So speaking of that, these are all the people that I know what I'm talking about. These are people from different leagues in VR, in the VR esports scene. I got my start out in VR Master League, and since then I've been able to work with almost all the leagues, really. And I do want to shout out to the ones who couldn't make it. I know not everyone could be here, but look at the representation we have today. So let me introduce our folks. We have two from VR Master League here with Nightfire, and Psych, of course, she's decided to stay representing VR Master League. We have Leo from Outrun Digital over here, and we have Sputnik Cobra from Sputnik Cobra and Redshift VR. We have Maddie from CVRE, and then we have Trip. I don't know if you know Trip. Okay, Trip knows Trip from IVRL, and then we have two. I'm really excited about this. Hyperdashians from the Dash League. We have Style Dev and Callie with us. We just did a Hyperdash tournament not too long ago, and then we also had Callie on our show last week talking about the FPSs in VR, and I kind of think Hyperdash won low-key. So
I'm pretty sure it won.
So I'm just going to say publicly congratulations on that. So today we are talking about we're talking about accountability in leagues. So as stated in the beginning, right now VR esports isn't the same as traditional esports. We're not like selling out stadiums. Only some of us are making millions. Okay, come on. So it's not there yet, but it can be. And one of the things that I really want to focus on, and that's what I'm doing with XR Safety Initiative, is focusing on how we can make sure that the known toxic behaviors in gaming in general does not like bleed completely into our realm, and that we can have a sense of control over it. So I do want to hear from the leagues about how they enact different rules, how they came up with certain rule changes or mandates. And then also we have, Maddie is from CVRE, which is the collegiate league. And then we have Leo from Outrun Digital, which runs High School Heroes, and that's a high school league. So it's a little bit of a different ball game there because they're working with students. All right, and with everyone else, it's community leagues. Oh, and also Sputnik does LAN events, so a little bit of focus on doing some physical, presence events as well. So thank you everyone for joining us. Mic test. Hello. Check, check, check.
Well, hello.
All right.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, so just a show of hands, who started a league? Whose hands? Okay. Who's a caster in a league? Moderators in leagues. Has worked with Vivian before.
Now we're going.
Come on. Okay. All right. It's not that much of a flex. So the first thing I want to talk about is different ways that your league has started to recognize the transition from, hey, we're just a bunch of people who want to compete, to, okay, now there are a lot of people and we really need to manage expectations of safety and harassment. So I'm gonna first send it over to the, to me, the oldest league, because that's where I started, was VR Master League with Nightfire. A few words. I know we're just transitioning from a lot of VRML from the last panel.
Sure. My name is Nightfire, I guess. A little intro. I'm the casting coordinator for the VR Master League, so I help organize all of our casting divisions across all of our different leagues, from Pavlov to Echo Arena. And while I can't necessarily weigh in on the moderation aspect of it, maybe something more on size spectrum, we definitely have experienced, not concerns, but the idea that as a caster you are watching the game from a top-down perspective, and you can potentially gain an advantage from watching certain players. If you were to spectate one specific team, you could watch their strategies and try and figure out how that team plays so that you could then copy those strategies. And so we've sort of, as we've grown and as we've adopted more and more casters, out of an abundance of, I suppose, caution, and because it's a request for people to have more view of their cast, all of our co-casters actually have to submit their casted perspective to a drive that is accessed by all of the league captains. And so while my perspective and what I'm viewing is live and can be viewed by anybody, the co-caster's perspective is not necessarily known. And so in a way to sort of combat any concerns that a player or a caster that is also playing in the league is gaining an advantage by spectating, we've had to sort of, as we've grown, develop that sort of system to sort of quell those fears that a caster would gain an advantage.
Okay, and I'm gonna ask our Hyperdash Dash League folks here. By the way, Hyperdash is a game. It's a standalone VR FPS shooter, but there is a league called Dash League. It's exclusive to Hyperdash, so this is kind of like built in with the game, so to speak. So when I say Dash League, it's the people who are running the league, not the actual game itself. But welcome to Style and Callie. Since you guys are creating a league from the ground up for just one specific game, how are the things that how did you guys start to, I guess, organize the league? Did you model it after any previous experience, or is it kind of like a trial and error?
It's definitely trial and error. A bunch of us, actually, one person came and set up the whole thing initially. His name is Lateralis, and he's the league commissioner. And he started off season 0 as a king of the hill. So anybody could come in and create a team with any number of people and then challenge other teams. And we just kind of ran that to a point where one team was clearly just not being defeated. And I was actually just looking up some of our history, and I found a message where I said, I think we can call season 0 TBD is the winner, after they basically just no one could topple them. And from there, we decided, the King of the Hill type of league is not the best type of league. And we wanted to move into a more structured league and then get into casting it as well. So we're now we just finished season 3, we're going into season 4, and the entire process has been just trial and error and building on top of what we've done in the past, and kind of just rinse and repeat a bunch of other things as well.
And talking about the toxicity of it and how it's been addressed, I definitely was not involved in the creation of the league, and I can't really speak to what it was modeled after. But in hearing some of the casting stuff, we've had a little bit of issues with some people hopping in and spectating and stuff like that. And the devs have been fantastic in implementing personal servers that you can set your own password and all that. Nobody can spectate, nobody can hop in without that unique password. And then there's also been a heavy emphasis placed on like sportsmanship and all of that. And the devs they're great with working with the board and everybody on if there is a toxic person, and if there's video of it, if they're reported, they'll work with Style and Lat and everybody to make sure that that's addressed, and to make sure that that's not left swept under the rug type of thing.
And we definitely have had our fair share of problematic situations, from light trolling to some extreme stuff. And we've had to mute people from the server for a day, all the way to permanently banning them from the league. Unlike sports, like official sports or collegiate or high school sports, we don't have a backup or a base level policy conduct that people need to follow before they get into this, right? Like, as you said, we're a community league. And so we have found ourselves having to weigh in on a multitude of things that I just never thought we would be having to get involved with. At times it's been a very infuriating process, but we try our best to kind of mitigate those waters and, move forward the league as a whole. And thankfully, everything that we've done in response to things, for the most part, the community has supported us in.
Thank you for that. Sputnik, when you are at Redshift VR, right? You guys do LAN events. I just touch on a little bit of the transition, because I know that you are also involved in the remote community leagues as well. So when you transition to like doing things in person, I know it changes the rules a little bit, but can we get some insight on that?
Yeah, so, listening to Style Dev and Callie talk, they spoke about a code of conduct, which is something that I'm drafting up right now for the future events. Because, you talk about toxic behavior, right? And, you can say behavior is toxic online. But once it enters that realm of physical reality, it becomes abuse and harassment. I mean, it's already abuse and harassment, but I feel like everyone kind of downplay. It's a terrible reality of online gaming and digital interaction itself. But how do you mitigate abuse and harassment in real life, especially with a lot of teenagers playing these games? It's very similar to scholastic sports. I didn't really have a code of conduct, but I was able to speak with everyone who attended the first event. And I put a lot of time in speaking to every person, saying like, this is how I expect you to conduct yourself. Like any unwanted, like battery or any unwanted touching, any like threats, or, even if it's, said sarcastically, I'm going to take it seriously, and you're going to be removed from the premises. And if necessary, I'm going to call the police. And I've got zero tolerance on that. I need to draft up a code of conduct. I need to codify things for the future. But, with these events, becoming more often, it was said in the previous panel, there are 4 or 5 lands for Echo Arena within Q1 and Q2 2022. So, we're going to find out the hard way how we're going to have to figure this out, and it's going to happen sooner than later. But I've looked at policies regarding like high school students and high school students competing in sports, and I think that's where I'm gonna more so go, and like just kind of rip off their code of conducts and kind of model it for what we need. I'm not gonna compose the whole thing, but it does need a bit of. These are things that we're gonna figure out, and everyone's gonna figure them out themselves, and the way that I ran the first LAN was that I based it off what I knew, which was I knew how to throw events when I DJ'd, and I knew how to throw wrestling tournaments. So I just kind of combined the two of them, and it worked out. So I can only imagine that there are going to be physical confrontations, especially in these, like, more so with sports. You see the heightened states and higher levels of competition and aggression. So I think there are going to be conflicts in the future, especially with the nature of sports and this being VR sports. So I need a code of conduct, and I need it soon.
Okay, so this isn't like, we didn't like plan this sidestep here, but XRSI, that's what we do. We work on creating frameworks and policies for this exact thing, because when I look at leagues in general, it starts out with, hey, there's this cool game, and hey, do you want to play this game? Or hey, let's have like a scrim, let's have some competition, and then why don't we make a league? And so it starts to grow and snowball from there. But ultimately, a lot of these endeavors they're not always out for business at first. So it's something that you guys loved and then started to do, and then just kind of grew from there. But it's not like anyone was like writing up a business plan and we have HR here. Not it can really spin out of control, and so that's where a lot of our expertise comes in to try and help bring in that the expertise of how to handle harassment cases, how to hold people accountable, and the right proper way to do that. And with VR sports is really no set rules or policy yet, and that's really what we're trying to do, is bring everyone together to kind of talk about, hey, when we do LAN events, what are expectations, or this league is doing this, how do we feel about it, does it reflect us, or what are some things that we can just adopt across the board and that becomes a standard for all. So thank you for touching on that. Well, speaking of community, I want to talk about, oh, I'm sorry, did you want to say something, Steph?
I wanted to note one more thing. Compared to other sports out there, community leagues, in our league, we deal with kids as young as 13 and people as old, I think, up to 60. So we have a huge breadth of age, of people in teams and playing against each other, where you're not going to get that in professional sports or collegiate or scholastic sports. And so, what you're touching on, it is needed a lot by our type of leagues, because how do you regulate, what people are going to say when they're in the server, whether, it's a Discord server or it's a game server, to say like, hey, like we have people here that are under 18, we got to balance that. And that's very difficult. And it's not something that we've specifically touched on yet, in our policies,
right?
But we need to.
And a part of it is like where I recognize that people are trying to stay like structured and professional, but on a personal level, like I really appreciate it when something happens and somebody from the league like reaches out to me personally just to make sure, because like ultimately it's not just like a business transaction. We're all humans and we're just trying to also look out for one another. So yeah, and this is what we're here for. By the way, I didn't know you guys knew we were gonna have homework. So let's talk about beyond the league and competitions, and let's talk about a little bit about community and what that builds or what that transpires to. So I'm gonna kick it over to Trip here with IVRL, and maybe talking about like how you involve the community when you're building an inclusive environment.
Yeah, first off, I want to follow up with what Style Dev said about you can't really have a rule set that encompasses everything, right? Everything is always growing, ever learning. And I think that that's something we have built a really great community around. We have players in all parts of our moderation structure, from the very top to the very bottom. We have checks and balances so that no one person can just unilaterally make a decision, and we have the ability for the community to reach out to us, and the community has been reaching out to us. They've been super helpful. We've had people come up to us and say, hey, this rule may not make sense, or this could be interpreted this way, and that helped. We can't figure out everything. I mean, no one can, right? So having community members that care about your success, well, Vivian, obviously, that care about your success as a league and that want you to succeed are super helpful, and they're really the biggest part of our community. We really just want to have fun. I don't want to have to deal with the minutia of business or rules or making two kids kiss and make up, basically. I don't want to have to deal with that on the daily basis, and I think we do a very good job of moderating. And I don't know, none of you have played yet in the IVRL, so waiting for some teams to come up and take part, but I think Viv might have, but yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
Community first, really. That's really the focus here.
So you guys are the for the players, by the players, which is very interesting. And on our previous panel, they did mention about the mandate for recording. So a lot of just accountability of just the community members, but also integrity of the game as well. So that I found really interesting, which was mandating recording, which is much easier, I would assume, in pancake games. But in VR games, it's a lot more difficult. And if you watched our last panel, Gilligan made a really good point about, being more inclusive if you don't mandate the recording. So when he brought that to me, I was like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. It was just kind of interesting because these things kind of pop up. So I'd love to hear your guys' thought process on it and how it's going.
Yeah, so there is some exclusivity potential. We're trying to mitigate that as much as possible. We have a team that works with people who have less than optimal spec PCs or don't know how to use technology as well. that work directly with them to make sure that they can get those recording mandates in. And the recording mandates don't in themselves get you a whole lot of penalty points or anything like that. They're a very minimal impact, but they build up if you keep not doing it. So obviously you want to get it rectified. So they can reach out to us, they make a ticket. We can say, well, your PC, try these settings. We have a whole bunch of options. And then if they can't do it, they can appeal and have a waiver, I believe. I am not on the moderation side of the board, so I don't necessarily have any of that information myself. And there are other things that we do for inclusivity as well, like the we allow players to play seated if they're injured. We have all kinds of things to make sure that our community can, the most of our community can play. Now, that being said, competitive integrity is important, and if you are having struggling issues because you don't have a minimum spec PC, the Onward game site, if it says you can't play at this spec, then that's something that we really can't get around. That's what the minimum specs for the game are. So it's to help the most of our community, we want to give everyone a fair shake, and letting people play on a subpar machine is not necessarily going to do that.
You've seen my work. So I'm kidding. But this is very interesting because I was like, how are you going to do that for a game that's Quest? I mean, I'm looking over at, maybe I won't call some people, but if some of you play Quest only, imagine if you have to record just on the Quest alone. But,
yeah, you'll overheat your Quest.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I think some people can record their entire match footage and not have a problem. Other people say that they crash out of the game a lot more often. One thing, though, in 3 or 4 seasons, including our season 0, we've never had an issue with actual players inside a match. And lately, Hyperdash rolled out a feature where you can mute, where the other team can't hear you and you can't hear them. And that's been the standard, is everyone mutes the other side of the team. Hyperdash is different from a game like Onward, where Onward is more realistic. So you want to be able to hear the person around the corner. Whereas in Hyperdash, it's a competitive advantage so that they can't hear you around the corner. So you do that. I think our biggest issue is dealing with stuff that happens outside of the competitive matches. So that's in the pub lobbies, whether they're community hosted pub lobbies or just our members going into a random server and saying stuff. And so we get into this real gray area of are we responsible for somebody, when they're on their own time outside of league servers, outside of league events? And that's usually, that's 30% of it. And then the other 70% is just in other people's, on Discord. And out of that 70%, it's another 70% in Discord servers that we don't even have access to.
That's very interesting. And I actually want to get to Leo and Maddie quickly, but because you brought that up, I do want to kick over to Psych. If you maybe want to talk about the new ruling in VRML about the territory.
Yeah, sure. So we recently announced that VRML used to act on any code of conduct violation anywhere across the entire internet, and for obvious reasons we realized that was not feasible. And so we have kind of returned, where it should be reported to the respective avenues. So, if it happens in Discord, if someone DMs you something and is harassing you, report it to Discord. If something happens in a pub lobby, report it to RAD, the developers of Echo Arena and Echo Combat. If it happens in a VRML server or if it happens in a VRML match, absolutely report it to us. We'll handle it. The caveat with that is, we're not just going to turn a blind eye to absolutely everything that doesn't happen in our territory, though. If you do something that was, ban worthy, if it had happened in a VRML territory, we will still act on that. We're not going to tolerate over the top offenses like that happening to our players.
Okay, yeah, and that's really that I just saw that ruling and I thought that was interesting. So one of the things that I'm working on, and this is really inspired by I think Outrun Digital, really, because we were talking about at AWE, me and Leo, about about how to handle the accountability when there's issues like this. We were talking about, we have Dash League here, we have IVRL, VRML. These are all different leagues and different structures, but a lot of us share the same players, right? So it's kind of like, where can you mandate and where can't you mandate? But when it comes to schools, you can't, there's certain things you can't do, right? I mean, you have to be a student at that school, I'm guessing. I can't like go back to high school and pretend. Then we know your identity, probably because they're underage and maybe there's some involvement with parents. But Leo, if you want to speak about that from the high school point of view, and then we'll kick it over to Maddie for collegiate.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way it works for us at the High School Heroes League is that we mandate that the schools pinpoint 2 educators to be our point of contact with the kids. We prefer not to actually have the kids' real names and whatnot, but we do want to meet with the parents whenever they can over a Zoom call and whatnot. But we leave it for the educators, for the teachers at those schools to actually be the communicator between the kids and us whenever they're not on Discord. And that really works well. We had only one case where the teacher actually wasn't really giving 5 minutes of attention every week that they need to, just to read one email that we sent during the season. And then we just contacted the principal, and the principal just swapped teachers that was responsible for the team. Everything is going super well. Actually, another school that has been participating with us since the invitational, the previous principal actually was moved over to another region in their state of New York, and then another principal was appointed, and they connected us with a new principal. The new principal was like super excited about it. It's already reaching out to different kids because the kids that are in our league right now, they're about to graduate. So he's already reaching out to other kids in the school who wants to migrate and represent the school in the league. And when it comes to the high schools, it's really important for us. We learned that it's very important for us to connect with the parents, to just have them meet us. So it's me and Cutie Pop, my co-founder. We're super happy to go and jump into a Zoom call with all the parents. There's a lot of the parents that actually joined our Discord. They learn how to use Discord, just DM us here and there, ask a few questions. There was one mom who actually wanted to have a Zoom call with us just to thank us because one of her kids is in the autism spectrum, and she was super happy with the results at school because of participating in the VR League. The kid was more excited and was paying a lot more attention to class because that school made it into kind of a priority that, hey, you have to show that you're actually learning at school, you're paying attention, you're dedicating yourself to learn, to remain in their VR team. So yeah, when it comes to safety and accountability in high school, we like to live it to as much as we can to the educators and the parents because they're not our kids and they're underage. So there's not so much that we can intervene. But with that being said, whenever something happens in the league's communities, Discords, we now have a Minecraft server too, so the kids can play in there. Whenever anything happens in our territory, just like VRML happens in our territory, we do intervene and we do ban. We do have very simple rules in our Discord community. So for example, we have 4 expectations. One is to be kind, one is to keep it PG-13, the other one is to participate, and the 4th one is to invite your friends. And then we just have 3 basic don't do rules. That is just don't be rude, don't post adult content, and don't discuss sensitive topics like race, politics, religion, and all the other different sensitive topics, because we want our community to be an ever-growing community and welcome to everybody. And we also are always super incentivizing and try to get more people that are not in high school, or people that are there. We have about 1,000 members right now, and we have only 18 schools in the league. So a lot of those members are in other high schools. There's a field from a team that played on last season. They graduated, and they're now they're still in the league, and they asked to become coaches for the community. So they're training the other kids that are joining, that are in high school, joining to represent that teams from that high school again. So it's been very, very nice, a very good learning opportunity. But when it comes to accountability and responsibility for the minors, we do have to be very cautious with how we interact with those kids, because of the parents and because of the educators. They might have different expectations, and especially when it comes to schools and kids from very different states, and maybe they have very different cultures. Like we all know, United States, every state seems like a different country sometimes when you go. They're very different people, and we have to adapt for that. But yeah, at the end of the day, it all comes down to, hey, we are donating headsets to your school. You gotta be nice and you gotta have fun. You know, if you're not nice and you're not having fun, we might need to talk to you or talk to your parents or talk to your educators. But we try to always go to the adults responsible for those kids first before we go to those kids, because we know we've all been teens and we know how it is growing up, and sometimes we can be very frustrated for the smallest things. And it's better to just connect and pass over the message to the responsible adults for those teams first, and see what they think and what they should do regarding whatever behavior the kid had. But again, if it's something very extreme, we have a no policy and we just instantly ban.
Yeah, that, I mean, and again, you know, you're working with students, and it's specific. It's a high school, and also Outrun Digital is the only STEM accredited league, high school league, right, in the whole world, in the metaverse. So congratulations on that. And it's fascinating, because that's where, like, there is no gray area. You know, there are set rules. So let's bring it over to Maddie, who's been doing this for some time. You might have caught her on our show a couple years ago. So let's hear from the college perspective. I know you're in, was it 32 universities or states, or?
Yeah, so at the moment for this season, season 7, we have about 32 or 33 universities participating. It changes rapidly from season to season. So some seasons we have a ton of people coming in, other seasons it'll shrink down, especially with COVID, depending on the games we're playing and the time of year. But yeah, like you said, so Collegiate VR Esports is a collegiate league. All of our players are students. And because of that, there is some level, I think, of maturity that we get, which is fantastic. So I, you know, aside from being one of the lead organizers, I'm also the moderator and the community lead. And I, you know, I'm really blessed to say that I think our league is fantastic. We don't have much toxicity at all. People are really close, even our rival teams, universities that would be rivals or players that would be rivals. Are really friendly with each other. We have a lot of mentorship going on outside of the games as well, so that's really fantastic. But you know, like we've heard earlier in the panel, we really have a zero tolerance policy for any sort of harassment. That is something I keep a really, you know, close eye on in the server. I open my DMs up to everyone as well. It's, you know, we're pretty close knit. So if someone's feeling that they're uncomfortable with something that's going on, or something was said to them in a match that made them uncomfortable, they're always welcome to reach out to me. So we definitely have, I think our staff have a pretty close connection with all of our players. A lot of the people are meeting up in real life. We do generally, well, pre-COVID, we used to do 3 to 5 meetups a year. That number is starting to kick back up now that, you know, safety protocols are in place, but we, to that end, everyone's very close. So yeah, definitely lucky there, but we do keep an eye on it. And we run our matches in private lobbies. We control everything within the server, so we try and avoid some of the toxicity that can be out there in the community. But we really do, one of our biggest focuses in the league is making sure that it is a welcoming place for people that are brand new. And that could be a huge point of toxicity for players that are joining multiplayer games, right? You join a game, you don't know how to play, and you're instantly jumped on by folks that are, you know, telling you to leave, you don't belong here. So that's something we try and focus on in our league, is making people feel comfortable, making them feel that they have folks to talk to, mentors to meet up with, and just a place to kind of learn the ropes before they're thrown in with the sharks, right? And we do, I think you said this actually, but we do have a lot of overlap with VRML and other leagues for, you know, any of their players that are college students are eligible to play in our league. So yeah, it's that. And I think we're really lucky to have such an incredible community. But there's also safety mechanisms that you want to implement ahead of time. Even if everything's nice and sunny now, who knows what it'll look like in a couple of years. And we really are right now, all of us, right, are in that early stage where we're deciding how this community is going to be built, the XR community as a whole, and we're making those decisions. And something I heard panelists say on a different panel, a couple months back, was that the one thing we don't want to do is to tell players, and in this sense, it was geared towards female players, right? To tell them to just not talk or to mute themselves, because that's not a fix, right? And that's putting the onus on them to shut themselves up and block themselves off from the content, which isn't how it should be. So we really try and make sure that folks are comfortable in playing the game and comfortable with their opponents and the league members as a whole. And I really hope that moving forward, that's something that is just prioritized in games, right? Of ways to make people feel comfortable, feel protected, whether that's in person at LAN parties, in events and meetups in real life, and in the games themselves.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And I see you guys are already connecting here, connecting the dots
behind the scenes.
Yeah, there is some comments in the chat about someone commented, Colossus, I think you should take action against players who play within your league, regardless of where they say anything, as long as there's proof, as it promotes a healthier, safe community. So it's interesting. I'd love to hear from other folks out there what your thoughts are, because like sometimes we make a decision, but it doesn't work out. I'm sure we've all experienced that in one way or another. You think you're doing something right, and then it comes and bites you. You're like, okay, that wasn't the outcome, that wasn't the intention. So that's why we have these conversations. And for the comments out there about like we're taking this too serious, like I do want to point out one of the reasons why we started this was because there wasn't I wouldn't say an incident, it was a terrible tragic story about esports players that it was in Brazil, and the female player was like lured by people in the league, and she was murdered like for it. So it's like, harassment that leads to something that can be very scary in real life. And that was one thing that like I had a hard time with, was like if I complain about somebody and I'm not at a school and I'm not at a company where there is no like no retaliation clause or anything like that, because that's something that a lot of companies have. What's to stop someone who is harassing me, who maybe got banned or something, from continuing to mess with me, right? So is there something like that, like that? I mean, that's a thing. And so I do want to address that. There are a lot of different safety issues. I mean, there are things from like our health, our mental health, our physical health. So it takes a lot, and it takes a lot more than just like, hey, I like this game and let's just, have a good time. It just doesn't always work out that way. So it's really important to have these conversations. So one of the things that I was talking about with Leo, and I'll bring it back to you, Style, was to talk about how we can hold people accountable through different methods. And I think we came up with a really cool solution. But let's hear from Style first. I saw you raise your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to note, like on the comment that we're taking this too serious. One thing that we've noticed is that when the toxicity level gets too high, we start losing valuable members of our community and the good, members of the community. And they're not very vocal when they leave. They just kind of just disappear. And so if you don't take this serious, then you're going to end up losing all the good people, and it's going to eat up a lot of your time. So the more that you can do ahead of time and kind of set expectations for everybody, I think is better, and try to account for what you can. Obviously, none of us are clairvoyant, so we can't write a rule for every single situation, but to have it at the forefront and say, hey, this is something that we do pay attention to, and there are expectations around this, I think is a good thing.
Well, and I think one of the things you're talking about, losing good people who are already pretty established in the community. I worry about losing people who are and could be potentially established in the community. And I know there was a story, that said something about talking about positive stories. There was somebody who hopped into a pub and had a bad experience and went to social media. And she posted, she said her opinion, totally valid. I know the devs reached out to her. I know Latin Style reached out to her. A lot of the female players, because a lot of us are pretty close, and we are friends on Discord, and we chat about stuff even outside of Dash League. We reached out to her, and we were able to pull her into the community, get her into lobbies with only females, and then get her into pub lobbies, and kind of massage that out a little bit. She actually kind of retracted what she said on social media. And we were able to kind of it opened a discussion as to there's not a whole lot you can do to stop that behavior in a public lobby right on the onset. You can do something post-fact in banning them, in reporting them and all that, but particularly if they're not a member of the league, because this is in a pub, because it could just be a random child, you know, you've got to be able to work with it after the fact. And I was really super excited to see how that experience went. She was able to join the community, and she enjoyed Hyperdash after that.
Yeah.
And I think because it's such kind of a grassroots movement, the league itself, that kind of experience is super important in that mentality. So any of these league players, who are a large majority of the people on the servers at this point, if they see anything like that happening, I would wholly expect at least one or two of them to speak up. And I can't imagine there are others who would go against that.
Yeah, and the Dash League community is fantastic. They have a whole Ladies Who Dash Discord, and they are so welcoming. And they, like, I think Callie and I have the same, like, clan tag and stuff, even though I'm not playing in the league, and other players are on different teams and stuff. So it's great to have that built-in community that's, like, you know, is a bit of an army, because they really all helped a lot of us who are, like, new and trying to figure out the game. And then when, you know, situations happen, they're really responsive. So yeah, I think that it's important to have people who are, like, really focused on holding others accountable. Maddie, I think you kind of raised your hand a bit. Did you have something to say?
Oh, I mean, I just reading the comments in chat, right? I think as leaders of our respective communities, that is one thing that we can do, is when we hear complaints about a player or see toxic behavior, at least one of the first things I do as a moderator is check to see what servers they're a part of and what servers we share. And that's something we can kind of give each other a heads up on too, of like, hey, we have a kind of problematic player in our league. I see that they're also participating in your league. Heads up. Just wanted to let you know, because, you know, we've gotten some complaints or something like that. So that's just a small thing that can be done to make sure that that toxicity isn't spreading to other communities. Because sometimes they join, they're, you know, a serial troll, right? They join all these different communities just to cause problems.
No comment. No, I'm kidding. So yes, and that is exactly right. And I know that we have, like, maybe, like, opinions on what we should do, or, like, we actually outright address it in the rules, like VRML did, which is great. So a part of bringing all the leagues together, because I know it's a lot like, oh, okay, well, I want to play in this league, I want to play in this league, but behind the scenes, like, a lot of our players all play in all the leagues, and we've collaborated with CVRE. I know Val is on here, Virtual Athletics League, but we've also done programs with them, you know, at the same time with VRML. So there's a lot of, like, ways to all work together, because we serve different purposes, or, you know, different games, different styles, and it's great for people to have options. So one of the things that Leo and I were discussing was, one is having a quarterly consortium with people from different leagues who would want to get together, you know, every quarter to kind of talk about, hey, these are some things that we implemented and it worked well, or just kind of, like, discuss some things that, like, maybe we could all, like, collaborate on, or maybe share, like, some rules or anything like that. And then another thing was, you know, this came up a lot when I played, was people being anonymous, which is, you know, a lot of people's opinion is you should be able to be anonymous when you're online. We actually even did an interview on our show with a player who is an actor and didn't want to be identified as the actor, which I'm sure was Nicolas Cage. But you know, there should be that ability to have that, you know, be anonymous, as Leah had mentioned about the students. Of course, when you get to LAN events, though, Sputnik, you can't be, you know, well, actually, hi Viper. So a little bit, but for the organizers, I feel like when you step up and you're playing in a league and you're doing something official where there's prize money, or, you know, that kind of competition, I feel like you should be identified or verified in some way. So we were discussing a third party verification system that all leagues can adopt. So it would be third party, neutral, would not be run by any league or anyone in any league. It would be just a system that I believe esports does this, but there's several different ones, but one specifically for VR esports. And we can make it so that it's, because it's neutral, all we're doing is identifying you and saying they are who they say they are. Okay, and you can attach things to them, like maybe not everything. Like, we don't need all your records, right? We just need to know, like, you are who you say you are, and do you have any VAC bans? You know, or do you play in other leagues? Anything like that, what that can help people from behind the scenes that say, like, you know, like, they can kind of like gauge all of that, and that way people can't just like come back and, you know, under an alias. And then people in the leagues can decide, like, maybe like we encourage this, we don't require it, but maybe there is a league that, hey, no, we want to require this, or even teams that say, like, you know, the league doesn't require it, they recommend it, our team wants only verified players. But I thought like that would be like a really good option, and I think for like people who are Leo and Maddie, who are already working in ways to verify the player because they're maybe underage or students, they have to verify them. But I'm curious how everyone else would think about this, or if it's something that you think would work or wouldn't work.
I think it's a great idea. I love the fact that it's a third party. I think when we've kind of looked into it on our side, Dash League we're a group, we're not an entity yet. And to require personally identifiable information from people, especially people under 18, you know, we're just not ready to even go there. So if there's a third party solution that is, let's say it could be a nonprofit that is a legal entity that has legal requirements and lawyers around it, where they can go and they can verify it, especially around guardians for people under 18, I think would be a huge part of this, so that we can say, okay, if you're verified here, then, you know, it's like tokenization with credit card payments. Like, we don't need to know the credit card number, we just need to know the token's valid. And then we could fulfill a bunch of requirements on our side when it comes to like conduct and stuff like that. And then we could even, for under 18, maybe even submit back like conduct issues that then gets routed to their guardian without us having to be, you know, calling someone, because, you know, a lot of these parents, they're not on Discord and we can't just hit them up with DMs.
Yeah. So, did you have something to say, Trick?
Yeah, we actually looked into this as well when we started the IVRL. I don't know if we thoroughly fleshed it out, but we had definitely thought about it. A lot of our players want it, but as we said, a lot of our players also don't want that kind of information. They have concerns, obviously, with PII and things like that. And since we don't really want to unilaterally make that decision right away, we haven't done it. But it has been something that we've been looking into specifically for the reasons that you're mentioning. I mean, they're happening to everyone. Everyone has these problems. It's not a specific league. It's just a thing. Trolls will be trolls.
But I will say this, I mean, if you did implement this system and you did have a way to report things back, I find that when people understand that they have consequences to their actions, and those consequences can be broader than, let's say, a video game. It could be multiple video games, or prevent them from competing in other leagues or other tournaments down the road. Then chances are they're going to be less keyboard warriors or, you know, keyboard trollers, and maybe kind of like be a little bit more friendly when it comes to interacting with others.
Yeah, so right now we do actually do the disclosures for prior bans and things like that when a player joins our league. And if they don't disclose, that is grounds for suspension, I believe, in our league. So we do know who those people are, but that's as far as we've taken it so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's up, Leo?
I think it's also important for this third party group or nonprofit or whoever it is to also keep on check the leagues themselves, because that would add a lot of trust to the players, because at the end of the day, the players are giving this third party group, company, nonprofit their private information and real information, and they are expected to keep that safe in a very, very closed garden and with all the different crypto whatever securities and stuff, but at the same time, it will make that company, that third party group, be trusted more if that group also keeps the leagues on check. So for example, that third party can be the one place players from all different leagues and all different VR games go to report somebody else who did something, and then that third party goes and warns the leagues to have that player as a member of a team in whatever games they're playing in other leagues. And if that league does not enact any sort of punishment, or maybe even stabilize, make a standard type of punishment for various infractions, then that league also gets checked, also gets some sort of punishment, some sort of star system or something. That would help with the players feeling they can trust that third party organization, because one of the main reasons me and Cutie Pop started our league is because we wanted to just have a league that was just on point and transparent with everything. And even though our leagues we don't have an intent of making any profit, and that makes things a little easier for us for being transparent and just doing everything the right way. It does make the players trust more that third party, and then all leagues participating on with that third party as well. It just makes the whole ecosystem a lot more friendly and inviting and open to everyone.
Yeah. Nightfire, you jumped a little.
Yeah, I think that's a bit troublesome.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
you guys certainly are in a much smaller, way smaller groups. You're talking 30 teams in your league, where for Echo Arena we have over 400. We're talking thousands upon thousands of players, where we have 20 plus moderators on our moderation team dealing with our own moderation style and tickets and all of this other work, to then add on having an oversight committee that would have to somehow be larger than we are to also overwatching everything that we do in our league. Feels like maybe way more work than you anticipate it to be, just because of how many people are playing in the VRML. It just, to me, doesn't feel like something that would practically factor into our already robust workload on our mod teams.
Well, it's not what I mean. It's not like actually having this third party telling the leagues what they have to do or what they shouldn't do, or what specific new rules they have to have or punishments. It's just that it's overseeing exactly when you have, for example, VRML that has thousands and thousands of teams and players playing. The bigger your community, the bigger the risks of someone causing real damage to somebody else. Like if you go and look at the actual flat gaming the flat esports scene, if you look on Twitter, I recently retweeted the random journalist mistranslating a tweet from a Riot Games Brazilian caster and saying that the Brazilians are threatening every single foreigner to come to Brazil because they should feel scared and stuff. So when you have a much bigger community, you're increasing your risks of having someone with very bad intentions, or just a group of kids who just want to cause trouble, and having the support from a third party can really help, especially for big leagues when you have, for example, a surge of players jumping and joining your league. Maybe if those players have already been banned from another league and you guys are part of that third party and that league was also part, that's an easy flag system that can notify you guys and notify us that, like, hey, this guy joined our league and he was banned from VRML, so we should look into it. Let me hit up Nightfire and ask him what happened in there.
Sounds like it's more of an informational sharing kind of thing rather than an oversight demanding kind of.
Right. It's a shared network of information that can be shared, of course, and bannable offenses and whatnot.
Yeah, it's that little check mark on Twitter. So you basically, which is basically what it is. But luckily, at XRSI, we're like full of people who are experts in cybersecurity, in policy makers. So that's really what we work on, and that's why I was thinking like, well, it can't be like an oversight, because we were thinking like, well, we can't just go in there and be like, you're running your league right or wrong. No, but maybe we can think of ways that we can maybe verify or help do something where you guys can share facts, not opinions, just facts. Like, you are who you are, and then leagues can choose to adopt it, because these systems actually already exist in esports, just not in VR esports right now. So anyway, that's it's a great conversation. I see the chat is popping off, which is great. So we'll definitely want to continue this. I know we have to close out soon. So I want to thank everyone for coming. I don't know if you have any last words that you want to, kind of share about your league, or invitations to join, or how they can join. Let's start with Psych. You're up on the top there.
Yeah. Not much to plug other than VRML is open to anyone of any skill level of several different games, including Echo Arena, Onward, Pavlov, Snapshot, probably more than I'm forgetting. It's really late. Sorry.
Contractors, Final Assault.
Contractors, Final Assault. There's more. I'm sorry, I'm new. But vrmasterleague.com, we've got the Discord invites for all those different leagues and our general server. So come check us out if you're interested in any level of competition.
Fantastic. Thank you. And then Maddie for CVRE.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, our league is, we have 2 seasons a year, and those are collegiate seasons. So those are geared towards currently enrolled students, but our community itself is open to anyone. We hold off-season tournaments that are open to all players in the summer and the off seasons. So definitely come check us out. It's discord.gg/CVRleague or cvreleague.com. Yeah, we'd love to have you. We have movie nights and all sorts of other games that we play. So
movie nights, great.
Awesome.
And Dash League. Kelly,
yeah. So thanks. Real quick thing. I just think it's a great conversation to get going. And to all those interested, hop in the Discord, which I will now share how to join that.
Yeah, I see you guys brought an audience with you here in the chat. So thanks.
Yeah, so you can find us at dashleague.games online, and from there you can get to our Discord. Just wait like 15 minutes after this, because I do need to update the invite link there to the Discord server. But we're open. Our league is open to anyone 13 years of age or older. And season 4 starts on January 7th, 2022.
Hey, I could play twice. Okay, sorry. Trip for IVRL.
Oh, not much to plug. Come join the league. It's new. You won't be at a disadvantage. And also, I really want to plug something that's not on my background here, the Onward Rookie Boot Camp, which I think we talked about a little bit. Training new players, that's one of the biggest things that we've had in the Onward community. And it's been going for a while, and it's great. If you're a new player, join the Rookie Boot Camp. We will have veterans teach you how to play, and you get a better experience and you don't get stomped.
That's how we met. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And Sputnik for Redshift.
Redshift's hosting first Echo Arena LAN of 2022.
Nice.
It will also be providing services to another LAN under Annexed Fate, which is our event production company. So if you need help throwing a LAN, whether it's planning, whether it's casting, whatever it is, give us a call.
Awesome, thanks. And Leo for Outrun.
Yeah, if you want to stay updated on the news on the stuff that we're planning and releasing, our Twitter is just Outrun Digital. If you want to join our High School Heroes community on Discord, the link is just chat.hsvrleague.com. That's High School VR League. And yeah, we have a new league coming up that should have the first tournament in January. I can't say much yet, but it's going to be it will be another league with charity focus. We're going to be raising fundraising for a nonprofit related to kids and VR and all the good stuff that we wanna showcase and give them a lot of exposure. Like I said, I can't say much about it yet, but it's going to be in January next year, and during spring we'll have the next season for the High School Heroes League, and we'll be sharing more information on that in our website soon too.
Awesome. I know that Psych spoke for VRML, but Nightfire, did you have anything?
No, you can head over to vrml.com for all the info you really need about the VR Master League. It's a community-run league, it's by the community, from the community. It's recommend you go check it out.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank everyone, for the panelists, for making time to join us today and have this conversation with different leagues. I know there are other leagues that weren't able to make it, but we are, always inviting everyone. Please check out xrsafetyweek.com to see the rest of the week's lineup. We do have fantastic speakers. I mean, we're talking about really deep stuff here with like high-level experts, so please check them out. If you want to be involved with XR Safety Initiative, let us know. Go to XRSI. We have the Cyber Coalition, which is day 3 today, about diversity and inclusion. Esports is a new arena for XRSI, and I'm happy to bring anyone on board who wants to just make VR esports a thing and safer and better. So thank you again to the panelists. Thank you to everyone in chat, and have a wonderful night.
Thank you.